Hello and welcome to the Rei Sportscar Championship here at Tsukuba. This is the feature race this time in Division 2, so let's go through the grid, which is the same as the sprint race we had earlier. So, pole position in the Red Bull car is ERT Mikey, second place the American driver Janai Broad, Cyberstrike in third place with Ed Zappi in fourth. In fifth place after a very unfortunate sprint race is my own Parasite, with sixth place being Lewis, 7 being hosting Way Too Many Napkins. In 8th place is the Irish driver Andy. 9th, the 29 car, is Lazelle 973. In 10th place in this beautiful livery is the Mexican driver Pixtecker. And then we have Toxic Bacon and Drade rounding out the field. But as we get away here for this feature race, just a reminder that all drivers must use both the Racing Soft and Racing Medium tyres in these feature races, as well as endurance races later on in the season. So we go away here at Tsukuba. We do have this rolling start, so we are going to see a bit of a gap, at least on this opening lap between all the drivers. Janai Broad had a terrible start to last race, however the stewards will be investigating his car regulation after the event. We've got my own Parasite who needs to make amends after he was taken out in the first race, and he's actually doing a very good job of that here behind Ed Zappi. So it was Ed Zappi who collided with the Canadian there in that opening race. And if we just look at some of the tyres, we can see that my own Parasite is on softs, as is Ed Zappi, as is Cyberstrike, and that is the same applies for the top two. If we just go a little bit back, we can see that Lewis is also on the soft tyres. Way Too Many Napkins as well. Andy is the first of the runners to be on the mediums, and if we look further back, we've got Pixtecker into the pits instantly on his mediums, and then we've got Lazelle and Toxic Bacon fighting, and that's Toxic Bacon with a fantastic move on the inside of Lazelle. Now Toxic Bacon is on the soft, so you might expect him to make some ground. But that was a fantastic overtake, and Lazelle's had a pretty poor start here, losing out to both Pixtecker and Toxic Bacon, at least before Pix pitted. Oh, Ed Zappi, he was in fourth, he's down to fifth. He got incredibly loose in turn two, and actually, ooh, he's off the track again, is he? No, he stays on track, but the big beneficiary in all of that was Lewis, who he moves into fourth place, and then we've got Way Too Many Napkins on the inside of Ed Zappi. There was some side-by-side contact. Not a huge dive bomb. Way Too Many Napkins still stayed to the inside. We're just going to catch a replay of some of that. So we're going to on board with Lewis. And as we see the car head braking far too late, losing the rear of the car. And then here with this contact at the exit of the corner. Get in there, Lewis, as he moves up into the top four. And then if we just go further back, on board with Way Too Many Napkins, he's on the inside for quite a while, and slight contact, but we can see he's still at the curb, so nothing too untoward there. Further back you can see that battling with Toxic Bacon, Drade and Lazelle still ongoing. Up front, and Janai Broad is catching up ERT Mikey. He's got a 58.9, which is very, very quick. Seemingly too quick. That is why the stewards will be looking at his car afterwards. And that's Lewis going very wide, and then Ed Zappi on the inside of Way Too Many Napkins. Bigger contact this time around. And then we have, oh, is that Lazelle making contact? It is Lazelle just tapping Toxic Bacon. And as we go back into turn two, we've got Toxic Bacon on the inside, Drade now also on the inside of Lazelle, and that is a fantastic move by Drade there, as Lazelle drops yet again to 11th. However, he is on the medium tyres, so he can make amends later on in the race. Pixtecker, who made that pit on lap 1, he's now used up his mediums. He can theoretically use softs for the rest of the race. He can also use a second set of mediums if he ever wants to. Further up front, we've got Janai Broad going for a move on the inside, it seems. A bit weird. He had a massive overspeed into the corner, but was just far too much to the inside, and yeah, lost a lot of momentum. We then got Cyberstrike, Lewis, and my own Parasite here in the top 5. And Wade Atkins and Zappy still fighting. This time doesn't seem to be contact, but we're just going to pop up an extra position because Lewis there off the track. And that's, oh, well, that could have been good racing. But Ed Zappy there, just a little bit too much on the curve there. He was getting a lot of space, but he failed to execute the manoeuvre. Back up front, and ART Mikey's there, missed the apex. Janai Abroad might look for the opportunity, but he is quite a long way back here on the straight. But we can see here he's already over 100 miles per hour. He's at 110 miles per hour. He definitely has more power than the British driver at this stage. But he just can't follow it through, so he's really struggling in the corners. My own Parasite has actually dropped back quite a bit because he's lost over a second relative to Cyberstrike. We're just going to pop further back. Andy, he's in 7th, Drade in 8th, Lizelle in 9th, and I was wondering what had gone on. Lewis has lost out. Where has Lewis gone off the track? Oh, Lewis getting loose in the corner, which is something we've seen from a couple of other drivers this event. I don't know if there was contact with my own Parasite, but if there was, it was no fault of the Canadian. He rejoins pretty safely there in 10th. Pixteca is in 11th, and Toxic has had a mistake, it seems, and he's dropped down to 12th. Lizelle and Drade still fighting on. And we're just going to go back to where we were with the race leaders. And yeah, Mikey definitely got the better ability here in the corners. He's taken a much better racing line. Janai Broad not using as much of the track as Mikey. Oh, but here he is, as Mikey actually slightly defends. Oh, but way too loose, way too much oversteer, having to actually counter and use a lot of the curb. That will help Cyberstrike here in his pursuit of the top 2. My own Parasite doing pretty well after starting 5th, and we've still got Wade Atkins and Ed Zappy here fighting for 5th and 6th. This is fantastic between the two. And Ed Zappy is looking for the high acceleration at the corner, so we're going to go on board with him, and I think he can make the move, but that is a very early yet very safe defence there from Wade Atkins. As we go into the final turn, he holds on to the position. There might have been contact there though. Either way, Wade Atkins is stuck on the outside, and this I think is the opportunity for Ed Zappy that's been waiting for. We've got the two Americans battling it out very, very fiercely. But no, Wade Atkins still holds on to the position. You can see our ERT Mikey still holding on to the lead as well, as I think Janai Abroad is really struggling in that second turn to control the car under braking. And Janai Abroad, after losing a bit of time to Mikey, has just taken the complete incorrect racing line, far too much on the inside on the entry, running onto the grass, and that has given Cyberstrike 2nd place. So this is a great performance here in Division 2 by Cyber, finding it very, very competitive and doing a splendid job right now. But here you can see, yeah, there definitely needs to be something looked at after the race in regards to him, and that's more contact, as Cyberstrike is sent down to 3rd. So just like on lap 5, Wade Atkins going for the defence on the inside, and Ed Zappy's just completely done in there. That's fantastic overtake from the American. Wade Atkins went a little bit too deep on the at the start of the corner. Ed Zappy's taken full advantage. As we just have a quick look further back, we've got Andy on his own in 7th, but Drade actually looking pretty good in 8th, and with Andy going off the track there, Drade will close up surely. Lizelle has now dropped off Drade and is now fighting with Lewis, who does seem to be faster, but obviously had that spin at turn 2. We have then got Pixteca here, who's now last, but we've just had a retirement from Toxic Bacon, who has had some technical problems. As we go back up to second, as Cyberstrike's re-overtaken Janai Broad, but Cyberstrike is not under investigation for anything. Reminder that they must use both the Racing Soft and Racing Medium tyres. Also, one thing we're noticing is that Mikey is not too far ahead of Cyberstrike at this stage. It's only about 3 seconds. And considering that Cyberstrike started in third and Mikey on pole, 3 seconds isn't too much of a gap here. Janai braking way too late into turn 3 and loses some time to Cyberstrike. That will allow Mayan Parasite in 4th to catch up. Yeah, it really does look like the American is playing it on easy mode with the extra power that his car seems to have. But then he really struggles in his final turn, really struggles in a lot of the turns to actually get the correct racing line as Cyberstrike pulls back through on the inside. And as they go side by side, I think Cyberstrike takes a position. Ooh, well, he does, taking a little bit of a Nico Rosberg line, but makes the move stick as he goes very wide, and we're going to go on board with the Canadian to see if he can make any ground and move into the podium positions. So there's not too much to see in the rearview mirror because Mayan Parasite has been consistently quicker than the likes of Waytoon Atkins and Ed Zappi here in the feature race. He showed excellent pace and talent in the first race. Now, it is a long season, so even with a few incidents, it's not going to harm a championship too much. We've got an 8-round season, including races at Tsukuba and Brands Hatch, but we're just going to pop a bit further back because Drade has now caught up to the back of Andy for the battle for 7th. That's a bit of a heavy defence from Andy, then moved back to the outside, back to the inside, so that was maybe too many defensive moves. But in the end, Drade is still stuck to the back of him, so there wasn't really too much in making that many moves on the back straight. And I think Drade might be able to close here through the exit at turn 1 because Andy went a bit too deep, but no, I think if anything Drade braked a bit too early. So he stays in 8th. But just further back, Lewis has got past Lazelle, who's gone off the track and into the wall. It's lap 10, and he has now dropped from 10th to 11th behind Pixteca, who made that early pit stop. Ed Zappi hasn't been able to pull away from the fellow American since the overtake, and if anything, it's now looking like Waytoon Atkins is going to regain that position. Now we're just going to check the tyre wear. We can see that Ed Zappi's front left is slightly worse, but it's not a considerable difference. Meanwhile, Mayan Parasite's tyres are, again, not particularly bad. Janai's tyres, again, they're fine, but Cyberstrike is actually looking incredibly good with his tyre wear, as is ERT Mikey. So when it comes to tyre wear, Mikey and Cyber really are the two to beat right now. And Janai has a terrible run through that middle sector. He braked far too late as well through that turn. He somehow manages to stay on track, but Mayan Parasite will surely drop into 4th here on the back straight, as he does. And he's gone way off the track. He's taken far too much speed through that turn. We're going to go on board with him. Well, he's barely braked, essentially. He's been accelerating far too much, braking not enough, and that will send him down to 4th, maybe even 5th, maybe even 6th if we go on board with Waytoon Atkins. And this could be free wide action into turn 1, and this could be a double overtake. And it's just a singular overtake there as Janai loses those 2 positions, and Waytoon Atkins is unable to get 2 in 1. But oh, I hear spinning. No, Okay, maybe I'm wrong and I don't hear spinning. Further back, Andy defending very heavily into that turn. Let's just catch a replay. So we're going to go on board with Drade. So Drade looked a bit to the inside and Andy kind of moving to the left, and Drade had actually committed to that. I'd say before Andy committed to his defence. Not sure how happy Drade will be with that. I was looking on a mirror at Lewis, who was ahead of these two, is zooming in, so we've got a great free car scrap on our hands. But this battle here has been going on for a few laps, and again a little bit too much weaving on the back straight. That was 2 moves, I'd say. Now it is just to get rid of the slipstream and not necessarily a defensive move, but oh, that's very poor driving from July, hitting the side of Waitering Atkins. And I would feel very, very aggrieved if I was in way too many Atkins' shoes. If we just go and get a Wolf Code of replay from 30 seconds back, we see Drade making a fantastic move here around the outside. He cuts to the inside of the exit of the corner and gets alongside the lime green car, and then going into turn 1 we can see that is a superb overtaking manoeuvre. Andy tried a little bit on the inside, but doesn't quite make it stick, and if we go on board here with Lewis, is Andy going to make a move into turn 2? Oh, he tries, but no, Drade braking late enough. Andy actually making a bit of contact with Drade, and yeah, that was definitely Andy there responsible for that original contact, and in the end it's Lewis who felt the brunt of that. Just further back, and Pixtecker on the soft tyres now, just putting in some fairly consistent lap times. Lizelle in 11th, who's been fairly consistent since that bad mistake at turn 2. Janai Broad is now moving into 4th place ahead of Ed Zappi. He dropped down earlier, but yeah, definitely with some car irregularities is in 4th place, but if there are car irregularities he will certainly be excluded from the entire event. Ed Zappi is therefore having to defend for Waitering Atkins, and he's forcing off the track almost. That was a large cut-off, and we're going to go on board with Waitering Atkins because I'm curious if he has had to go off the accelerator also. That was oh yeah, there was no need to cut him off so abruptly. This is hard racing, and not necessarily hard but fair racing. Definitely some room could have been given. You can see Drade, Lewis and Andy there in the back at turn 2. We haven't seen too many pit stops this race. I think I've only seen Pixtecker in the pit lane. So no one, probably with the exception of Pixtecker, is aiming for a 2-stop. Now we're just going to pop further back as Drade is heavily defending. Now moving back to the outside for the apex, and he's missed the apex completely. Andy on the inside looking for that top 7 place, but Drade has the acceleration there, and as they are pretty much bang on side by side, but Andy's surely going to go for the outbraking manoeuvre, and he does, and Drade has to drop back into 8th, but we're going to go on board with him. Oh, Ed Zappi's very loose. Was that on his own or was it contact? Oh, he got loose on the entry. That's giving him dirty tyres. He's loose on the exit as well. So on the entry and the exit, just far too much of the grass being used. Although at this track, any grass is too much. So with the tyre wear that Mikey and Cyberstrike are producing, you would definitely expect them to be going for a 1-stop. Meanwhile, my own Parasite, a little bit worse on the front left, might have to consider a 2-stop. or might consider a switch to the mediums very, very soon. Ed Zappi might have actually gone off again. Yeah, I think Ed Zappi's gone off again here. We're just going to catch Wolf Cola sponsored replay. Oh, he's gone right into the wall at the final turn. So after that mistake earlier on lap 15, right at the exit, he just kept going, kept accelerating even when on the track edge, and found himself into the obvious barrier on the main straight. The gap between the top two is about 3.5 seconds, and then it's a further 4 seconds back to my own Parasite, so still all in the balance there between Mikey and the Cyberstrike, and maybe a little undercut from Cyberstrike will allow him to catch up and give him the opportunity he needs to overtake. Waytoon Atkins in 4th is making his first pit stop. Meanwhile, Andy there. Oh, Janiyah Broad way off the track. What has happened to him? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. He's tried to enter the pit lane and he's just flat out hit the pit wall. Well, that he has no one else to blame but himself. He has to stay out on track now. Andy and Drade pop through. Janiyah here stuck in 7th and might Ali also lose out to Lewis. But where are these going to rejoin relative to Waytoon Atkins? Well, there he is. Sorry. There he is, and Waytoon Atkins actually behind Janiyah Broad, who's just straight off the track. Now, I don't believe there was contact. I could be wrong, but Janiyah Broad making far too many mistakes, and is also, of course, under investigation for a power infringement. But as we just pop further up the track, we've got Drade and Andy side by side, and almost not on a room given, but Drade has moved into 5th place. And there it was in turn 1, so as Waytoon Atkins came out the pits, Drade made the move to now be on the back of Ed Zappi. And there is Ed Zappi, followed by Drade, followed by Andy, Waytoon Atkins, and Lewis, and Andy looking for that top 5. It might not be a top 5 position once all the pit stops have settled through. Of course, we do have my own Parasite currently in the pit lane, surely switching to the medium compound and doing a one-stop race. We can just see him here exiting the pit lane, and he has rejoined very crucially ahead of this train of Ed Zappi, Drade, Andy and the like. And this is terrible news for Waytoon Atkins, who, if it wasn't for this train, could be a lot closer to the Canadian. So this is a lot of work here for Waytoon Atkins if he wishes to overtake my own Parasite. But he's on fresh mediums, and with the worn tyres on Andy's car, this could be a fantastic time to make a move. Drade here is on the inside of Ed Zappi because Ed Zappi has got far too wide at the turn, and there is Waytoon Atkins side by side with Andy. Oh, cut off at the last second, and oh, was there contact? Was there contact? We're going to on board with him, so Waytoon Atkins starting to pull alongside. Maybe not alongside enough. Maybe at this point there should have been no contact. Andy's gone off straight on his own. Committed far too much to the corner. Definitely no contact. But he was focusing far too much on the other car and not focusing enough on the track. Ed Zappi here and Drade, we've already seen some aggressive defensive driving. We've already seen an incident into turn 2 between the two, and he's gone way too wide. Drade on the inside and now on the outside for turn 3. Ed Zappi does give room on the outside, but Drade around the outside. Oh, that is a splendid move, but he's gone off the track, and that means he falls back behind way too many napkins. Just a few centimetres further to the right and that move might have worked out. Ed Zappi running wide again. I think that was just running wide of his own volition. Possibly incorrect with that. But with that move, Ed Zappi drops down again. or does he? Yes, he does. Now, as we just go into first place, we see ERT Mikey still leading, but yet to make a pit stop. Cyberstrike has made his first pit stop, and he might get the undercut on Mikey, but he has to have some fantastic laps on the fresh mediums, and that is not what you want to do. What is that driving? Managing to cut a small kink in the road and getting a very deserved penalty. My Own Parasite in third, who has closed up to the back of Cyberstrike. Then it's Way Too Many Atkins, who's now cleared that train, with Drade in fifth. Sixth is Andy, who actually lost out quite a bit in the last 5 laps. Janai in seventh on worn tyres, really struggling, and Lewis now for going into the inside. And fantastic around the outside as he's on fresh tyres, and I think he could be on course for a top 5 finish with the pace that he's been setting. In ninth place is Pixtecker, who has made 1 pit stop, but will have to make a second considering how worn his soft tyres are. We then have Ed Zappi in 10th, who's gone off. Oh no, I really hope this isn't what I think it is. Oh, Ed Zappi. Ed Zappi clearly not putting the practice into the track, not knowing where the pit entry is. That is not the pit entry, and he loses 20 seconds because you have to enter the pit lane before the final turn, as clearly demonstrated earlier on in the race. So Ali, if we go on board with Mikey, so we can see Mikey here going into the pit lane. There is a clear pit board. We did see Janai hit it earlier, and there we go as Mikey enters the pit lane. There is another replay of that fantastic overtake from the Hungarian driver, the second Hungarian driver in the Rei Sportscar Championship. So with some of the pit stops now happening, we can see that ERT Mikey is leading by only about 6 seconds here at the halfway point of the race. Cyberstrike did not have a good outlap, and I don't think it was a good in-lap either, as My Own Parasite gained quite a bit of time there. We've then got Way Too Many Atkins in a very well-deserved 4th place, with Drade in 5th, but he's yet to use his soft tyres, so he will probably pit fairly soon, maybe in the next 5 laps. He will drop down maybe to around 7th, but after that he might make some fantastic ground. Andy in 6th, very similar to Drade. 7th is Janai, who has to use the medium compounds. He's been falling heavily with mistakes and the like, so probably expect him to be finishing around 8th or 9th. Lewis is on fresh mediums, so wasted his softs a bit with that early mistake, but I think on fresh mediums they're not too bad. He might be able to get 7th or 6th place. Then we've got Pixtecker, who is making his second pit stop, which I also assume will be his last. Bit of a lonely race for him, but that it was his own choice to pit on the opening lap. That did get him some free air, but might not be the best for his own strategy and race result. Now he'll come out very clear of Lazelle, who's having a bad time of it. Lazelle's had a few mistakes. He has pitted onto... No, has he? No, sorry. Lazelle yet to use his soft tyres, but has had a few mistakes here and there, and is on his own in 11th. But back up front, Mikey setting the pace on those mediums. He had set a 59.2 outlap, not that that actually counts towards anything. But 60-second lap times after that, still incredibly good. Cyberstrike also on 60-second lap times, as is My Own Parasite. So actually the pace difference in these top 3 is very similar. But with Cyber... Ooh, okay Cyber, that's the second time we've been on the grass there. Will there be another penalty? No, but he's got dirty tyres. Deja vuing around turn 2. But yeah, very similar pace between these top 3, but with slight variations in their pit stops and slight variations in the amount of battling. Meanwhile, we've got Waitumi Atkins, who is setting pretty good pace right now with a 59.995. Drade, who will soon be on softs. And I think we've actually just had a car in the pits. I'm just going to try and work out who it is. It's Ed Zappi, who's finally on those medium tyres. He was on the softs for a while, and I'm not sure that worked out for him. It worked out for, I think, Mikey, as his tyre wear was pretty good. But Ed Zappi maybe needs to control his steering a little bit more to think about those front tyres in the future rounds. Yeah, the field's a bit spread out now, but there's... Lizelle is now kind of getting there with Ed Zappi. Pixtech on softs might be able to catch up Janai Broad and actually race with him once Janai Broad makes his pit stop, because there is a mandatory pit stop, and considering how bad his front tyres are, that might be soon. Just checking out some of the fantastic liveries here in the Rei Sportscar Championship. So we do have a couple of Red Bull liveries. We've got the green livery of Janai Broad here just entering the pit lane. We've got the fantastic vibrancy there from Pixtech, a superb livery made. Ed Zappi's fighting with Lizelle, so Ed Zappi's had an awful lap here, and Lizelle here fighting to get a point here in Division 2. Being very, very careful into turn 1, which is what we like to see into Rei Sportscar Championship. No need to be overly aggressive. There's still 15 laps to go. And with 40 points on offer for a win, all the way down to 2 points for 10th, every point does matter, especially in the feature races, as that is where the majority of the points come from in this sprint feature format. Here is another of the wonderful and wacky liveries here in the championship. Number 13 may be unlucky for some, but this is a fantastic performance from Cyberstrike here in second place. Mayan Parasite though is going to push him hard. And this is actually incredible consistency. 59.9 and 1 minute dead. Yeah, Mayan Parasite really just won that second place to make up amends for being taken out in the sprint race. Now we still need Drade to enter the pit lane and use the soft tyres, as well as Andy. There's only 14 laps to go, which I think are pretty safe for soft tyres. We did see Mikey's Cyberstrike using the softs for about 20 laps earlier on. We had Ed Zappi use them for about 21, although that was probably too much. Lizelle, I think, might need to use the soft tyres. I might be incorrect in that. And actually he is entering the pit lane, so he will use the soft tyres now. Ed Zappi, no need to make another pit stop. Janai, he has just pitted. Pixtech can probably go the rest of the way on softs, but if those tyres wear too much and he oversteers a little bit more, Janai might be right on the rear of his bumper. Lewis is now catching up Andy, so let's go on board with the Hungarian. This actually might be Andy coming into the pit lane. Yeah, he is. He's indicating to the right. That's very nice driving. Yeah, just necking out the lap time, and yeah, 60-second dead and 60.2. which is matching the pace of the race leader and similar pace to my own Parasite. Further back, Andy leaves the pits. He is in 7th on those fresh softs, and he's about 11 seconds behind Lewis. That's probably too much of a gap to make up. He is ahead of Pixteca though, so even with those alternative strategies, we see it all coming together. Apologies, I thought there was a position change, but I think I am mistaken. So we've just skipped here to lap 29, just 11 laps to go. Mikey is, yeah, just crossing the line to stop lap 30. Still with that small lead over Cyberstrike, who runs almost a bit too wide, but we can see my own Parasite just behind. This is very consistent pace from these two. Lazelle there a lap down in 11th, and Drade finally making his mandatory pit stop. I think he's had those mediums on for too long, but with a short stint on softs, he might find himself overtaking and battling with Andy. I think he can go longer than 10 laps on softs though, so he might not be fully maximising them, and he rejoins behind Lewis. He's ahead of Andy, so in all of that, that's worked out very well for Drade. 6th place, potentially 5th. Now Lewis does have the natural pace to be further ahead, but obviously made that very early mistake which cost him about 15 seconds. With those extra 15 seconds he probably would have been fighting with way too many Atkins, who's having a pretty boring end to this race. Just catching a replay of that awful mistake from Cyberstrike. Wow, a 360 no-scope spin completely on his own, and he loses second. So my own Parasite in the end not having to make a on-track overtake because Cyberstrike was off the track. I did not expect that at all. And he is going to be kicking himself for that mistake. I was an absolute shock at that because he was driving so superbly. My own Parasite inherits that 2nd place. He's currently 7 seconds behind Mikey. Will that gap increase as the tyre wear starts to affect these cars though? Now Mikey did pit later than my own Parasite, has fresher mediums. So my own Parasite likely to hit a sort of cliff as we approach these last 8 laps. Further back, way too many Atkins, yet still on his own. Lewis is now fighting with Drade, so let's catch out this battle. Drade on the inside into turn 1, bit of, maybe overly defensive from Lewis, but eventually there is still one car width on the inside, and Drade using all of that Mazda width to his advantage, and he moves into the top 5. Drade not too well known for good performances, but this kind of racing will change that view. Lewis therefore drops down to 6th on his mediums. Andy in 7th might be the next one in line. Pixteca in 8th, now on his own, about 10 seconds up the road and 10 seconds down the road are his nearest competitors, with Janai Broad, Ed Zappi and Lazelle rounding out the field, and they're not separated by too much actually. Lizelle, he is a lap down, he is on fresh soft, so if he does have the pace, he can very clearly push away. Let's just go for an onboard lap here at Tsukuba with our race leader and our sprint race winner. So you can see Ed Zappi here almost about to be lapped. Ed Zappi potentially could have been fighting our ERT Mikey, but with a few spins here and there, a few incidences, and maybe not the ideal strategy, he has lost quite a bit of time. So there's a lot of different lines you can take through turn 1 here at Tsukuba. Some people like to kind of move diagonally across the track when braking towards the first apex. Some people like to do like to treat it as a 2 apex corner. Some go for the late apex, and some just want to stick it around the inside for the entirety of the long turn. There's also a lot of different lines here. So some try and stay in the middle of the track. Some here, just like Mikey, going for the early apex and accelerating towards the outside, very similar to Ed Zappi there just ahead. Ed Zappi slightly off the track, but he will become a lap down pretty shortly. In second place, My Own Parasite very clearly ahead of Cyberstrike after he lost 5 seconds with that spin. Also, that spin would have affected his tyres, but My Own Parasite is actually the one who overall has the worst tyres. He did pit before Cyberstrike and Mikey. So I was saying that... Ooh. So Andy was behind, and I was thinking that Andy was one ahead all this time, but no, Lewis was one ahead, but he's just gone too wide to that penultimate turn. Lost the position to Andy, who nipped through. And that is fantastic stuff there for him to move in 6th. Lewis will be disappointed in 7th after a good performance in race 1. Here we've got 2 of the lap cars fighting out, Janai Abroad and Ed Zappi. Both have just been lapped by Mikey. And there's Lizelle just in the background as well. Ooh. And as they fall further back from Mikey, the race leader, Ed Zappi getting too loose, and he will not overtake Janai Broad right now. Now, next round and next week is the endurance race at Brands Hatch, where 60 points are on offer just for that one total race. It'll be a 37 lap race at the British circuit. Meanwhile, afterwards we have an event at Dragon Trail Gardens, which is a fantastic tight circuit. Lizelle, who was at the back of the field, is even further at the back of the field as he's gone right around, round, like a record, baby, right round. We join the leader, Mikey, on lap 37 of 40. There's just 3 laps to go for him. My Own Parasite in second place, seen a very good performance from him, and this will be 32 points he can add to his collection. Cyberstrike can add 26 points to the collection with the way it is here, but that spin earlier will cost him 6 points. Way too many napkins in 4th, just missing out on the podium. Drade MIX with a great comeback drive here after starting at the back of the field due to missing qualifying. He's in 5th. Andy in 6th place, very similar to Drade. Started a little bit further back, but has made good use here of his soft tyres near the end to get past Lewis. And then we've got Pixtecker, who I think was the only driver to attempt a 2-stop strategy. He used the mediums just for one solitary lap, and then since then has had long stints on softs. Now, I personally think the mediums are better than Pixtecker thinks, and maybe it would have been worth using the mediums longer for than one lap to reduce the amount of time needed to be spent on the worn softs. Janiyah Broad has also made a mistake recently. So I don't know where this was. Oh, it was going into turn 2. We've seen so much drifting, and this is actually the first time I've seen someone go right around in the middle of the turn. That was a lap ago. But that is terrible for him, and he drops now to 10th. And then Lazelle, who made that mistake a lap ago. Just looking at the lap times of Drade here in 5th place, and yeah, on the softs he has been very consistent, although not the best moment to say that as he loses control. His softs aren't too heavily worn, so maybe pitting a few laps earlier and getting a few more of these 59-second lap times could have allowed him to catch up to way too many Atkins. There's only a 4-second gap here at this stage of the race, so slight strategy changes could have allowed him to catch up here on the final lap. Andy in 6th, similar goes, he's been setting a lot of 59-second lap times. Meanwhile, yeah, Wayton Atkins in 4th on heavily worn mediums has been doing 1-minute ones, and there's another 1-minute one to add to the collection. ERT Mikey now halfway around his final lap. My own Parasite is about 10 seconds back, still ahead of Cyberstrike. Just near the exit end of the points, we do have Janiyah Broad, but again, potential exclusion due to power problems. And Lazelle currently outside the points, but if there is any penalty to be given out, he will move into the points and get a couple. But our race leader, who's led pretty much throughout, maybe even every single lap, is ERT Mikey to get a double header win. He won the sprint race, he wins the feature race here at Tsukuba. Fantastic pace on the mediums there to pull away from My Own Parasite here in 2nd. My Own Parasite making amends after the poor first race, not due to his fault. Cyberstrike, it was a fantastic performance. One spin there costing him 2nd place, but still nothing to be sniffed at. Wayton Atkins, he finishes 4th. Drade comes home just in 5th, almost 4th, just a few laps more needed. Andy spins across the line to finish 6th in his lime green car. Lewis in 7th, Pixtecker in 8th, Ed Zappi in 9th, Janiyah Broad in 10th, and Lazelle in 9th. We hope you have enjoyed this round of the Rei Sportscar Championship. See us next time for round 2 at Brands Hatch GP.